Welcome to Policing TV, and I'm delighted, absolutely delighted to welcome a dear friend of mine from Bedfordshire in the days when I was based in Bedfordshire, in the southeast of England, broadly the southeast of England, north of London. Downing. Paul, great to have you here. Just a couple of words as to why you're here, and then I'm going to invite you to give a little bit more background, and then we'll come on to the heart of the matter in a moment or two. But a former chair of the Bedfordshire Police and Crime Panel, and a keen student and observer, and indeed expert in police governance in England and Wales. And that's the core of this uh, relatively short conversation that we're recording right now. So, Paul, I hope that's a flavour of your background. Just give our viewers just a little more background as to your policing career and interest.
Well, I joined the police way back when in 1983 and worked in London town. Slowly moved through various ranks and was really a career detective by the time I'd retired in 2013, where I headed up the College of Policing training team around investigation skills and high-tech crime training, as well as intelligence gathering. So that's where I ended up, Bernard. But my life then moved on a bit because having retired and tried to find something to do, I had a knock on the door one day from a local councillor who invited me to stand as a candidate in a local authority election, something that I hadn't considered doing in the past. But actually, with my wife still working, I had time on my hands. So I stood as a candidate and was successful, which is more about the party I represented than me as an individual. But having got elected to Central Bedfordshire Council, that then opened the doors to me joining a group that I'd never heard of. Because in London, policing is run by the Home Secretary in the main. Chief Cut, we got the Commissioner of Metropolitan Police, who's famous throughout the world, and the Home Secretary above that. But in the counties, there was the counties of England, 43 counties. There were police authorities. Now, we also had from 2012 police and crime commissioners voted in the UK as a part of a change of government policy, and alongside those police and crime commissioners came a thing called police and crime panels. And it was those I had not heard of. But on day one at school as a new councillor, I was told I had to choose various committees to sit on. And I had an interest through my wife in health and social security. I had an interest because of my police work in fraud, in audit. And then there came an opportunity to apply for a role on the Bedfordshire Police and Crime Panel. I'd never heard of such a thing. I was voted on, and I've been there almost ever since. So from about 2016. So I've now sat on panels with 4 different police and crime commissioners, and indeed up until May this year, I was the chair of the local police and crime panel. But I've had to step away from that because I've had other responsibilities, and I'm looking forward to still being a competitive and busy member on the back benches looking to support and challenge our local police and crime commissioner.
It's a strange, or rather, yes, a strange arrangement in England and Wales, and I am very specifically saying England and Wales. Scotland has different arrangements. Northern Ireland has different arrangements. Indeed, you've referred to the Metropolitan Police. The City of London also has different arrangements. The British Transport Police has different arrangements. Let's focus, though, on those roughly 43 forces in
Mm.
England and Wales, where, of course, there is a chief constable, there is an elected police and crime commissioner, or sometimes a police crime and fire commissioner. Let's not get into the detail of that just yet, and we won't be sending out exam papers at the end of this, so we have to keep it very simple. A chief constable, there is an elected police and crime commissioner who oversees the chief constable, not the work of the force, but the chief constable. Correct me in a moment or two. And then the police and crime panel um, monitors the work and has some statutory responsibilities relating to the work of the police and crime commissioner. There are more complexities. We can bring in the role of the College of Policing, we can bring in the role of the Home Office, but the essence of this is that our focus today and in future recordings that you very kindly have volunteered to oversee and corral for Policing TV, the focus is on the work of the Police and Crime panel. Is that all reasonably fair so far, or will you pick me up on any of those elements for the
Well,
benefit
no,
of our
no,
viewers?
but I think you've summarised it quite nicely. There are subtle nuances in there. Certainly, as you say, the chief constable will almost inevitably been a career police officer, and will almost certainly have served, say, 20 years, maybe 25 years, in various roles in their force or nearby forces before that they rose to the rank heading their local force. So they're very much an employee, and they've got, well, who's their master? We can't get rid of them very
Well,
easily. We've
servant of the crown, of course.
a
So
servant of the crown is probably exactly the right way. Whether the king knows them by name or not, I wouldn't like to say. Perhaps he knows a couple. Then, as you say, from 2012 onwards, we've had this elected role, the Police and Crime Commissioner, and as you rightly say, that got complicated from 2017 when they were told, if you so want, you, as the head of policing in your area, you can take over the fire authority as well. And that will be undoubtedly another addition, Bernard. But because there are several counties that have gone down that route. And then the panel, yes, that sits as a family member in this policing world. Probably a cousin, not certainly not son and heir, but it's probably a cousin, maybe a distant cousin at times. But they represent the public, and the panel is made up in the main of those local authority members that I've described was my route in. So in my local area, there are 16 members on the panel, 12 of which come from the three local authorities of Bedford, Luton and Central Bedfordshire that make up the county of Bedfordshire. And then there's four of us independents, because I stepped down from being a councillor but maintained an interest in local policing and community safety issues, and came back, as has a professor in education, as has a headmistress, as has a hotelier. And they're the four occupations, if you like, of the independent members. So we represent the panel, and we do have some statutory and mandatory roles. There are many, and you might think, well, that might make you quite an important body. But actually, some of those tasks that we're set don't come with any teeth. And we're pretty much seen to be an organisation, wherever you are in the country, that you scrutinise the decisions and actions taken by the Police and Crime Commissioner. And his or her primary job is to set a police and crime plan for her police authority, his police commissioner, and he'll write that plan. They'll write that plan. And as a result of that plan, the local chief constable will develop their own action plan, their own strategic action plan of how they're going to police the county, the force area, for the next 3-4 years. It doesn't have to follow the police and crime plan. It should do, but it doesn't necessarily need to by law. But they should certainly pay respect to it when they're writing their own plan. The panel will also have view of that plan and should comment on it at a very early stage and feedback. And we feed back as effectively members of the local authority or as indeed members of the public. So we try and keep the PCC on the straight and narrow in that respect. What does the public think of your plan at this stage? Every year, we then have to mark the PCC's homework because every year he will. So overviewing that police and crime plan is one of the mandatory functions. We can't rewrite it, but we can suggest change, we can suggest additions, etc. We will then every year review the annual report that the PCC has to prepare, has to table, has to have passed and sent to the Home Office, which is, this is what I said I would do, and this is how I'm doing it. And as I say, the police and crime plan, one of the police and crime panel, one of our functions is to review that annual report and feedback. Quite important. Also, every year, this all has to be funded. And the Police and Crime Commissioner is responsible for setting the budget for the police and for the Chief Constable. Now, the Chief Constable may want this, that, and the other. He may want his own helicopters. He may want speedboats up and down rivers. He may want another 150 officers. But it's got to be funded in some way. The way it works in the UK is central government do supply a grant. It's an ever decreasing grant. Perhaps that's another addition that for our series. Comments on how we make the purse work, public purse work. But the Police and Crime Commissioner effectively then sets a local tax, and it's called in the UK the precept. And it's collected by the local authorities, but it is the commissioner, the Police and Crime Commissioner, that says, I need X amount of money to fund policing moving forward. And we have a right to veto that. The panel has a right to veto that and can say, perfect, we're happy with your 5% increase. Or, Commissioner, we don't think that you're going to actually be able to do everything you say you're going to do in your policing plan. Go for 6%. I don't think that's ever happened, but we could suggest that. And there's various restrictions around why they can't. But equally, we can challenge what the proposed budget is.
And that challenge, that challenge. So there is so much. I'm going to bring this initial conversation to a close quite shortly, Paul, because we are running up against our time limit on this first video.
Yeah.
But I just will acknowledge that there are for those not interested in policing finances, there may be some of the episodes that we record that they will find a little dry, but actually policing finances are absolutely key to the work that police forces are able to do. The recruitment of a chief constable is key, and the police and crime panels have a role in that, albeit with some teeth, but not a full set of teeth, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
Also, if there are any complaints against the police and crime commissioner, then it's the panel that has a role in that area. And there are instances over the last now roughly approaching 14 years of the existence of police and crime panels, of the existence of police and crime commissioners, where the police and crime panels have had a specific role. And there are many nuances that are absolutely fascinating, not just to the keen students of police and crime panels, which of course you are one. I would count myself as another with a keen interest of also of police and crime commissioners. So the essence of this, and this is, I think, Paul, where I'll ask that we leave it for this very first episode, focusing on police and crime panels, also police, crime and fire panels, is that much of interest, not just within England and Wales, but those more widely across the world interested in the UK model, specifically England and Wales model of policing governance. So, Paul, that I think is a summary of where we're heading with this policing TV series, for which I'll thank you very much indeed for putting
Pleasure.
your head above the parapet and volunteering to take that on. Um, any closing remarks from you on where you see this progressing over the coming months?
Well, I'd like this to be informative and entertaining, if at all possible, in relation to just raising the profile of panels and just clearing up some of the mystery about who these people are, and that may be effective for both police officers and staff, and also politicians, anyone considering joining a panel, which of course you can do, as I say, as an independent, not as a serving officer, but certainly as an independent. Wait, member of police staff? I'm not sure. I'll have to come back to you on that one. But I'd like to think this would be information. Useful intelligence, as we used to say in my old role, and we'll start delving into a few ideas and asking a few questions. And perhaps one question I'd leave everyone at the moment is, well, who guards the guards? Who oversees the work of police and crime panels? I'll leave you with that one, Bernard.
I don't have the answer to that. And at a time when we're recording this with a change in Home Secretary having taken place just a handful of days ago, there is a piece of work going on in the Home Office on police reform that seems to have gone very quiet at the moment. Not quite sure where that's going to go. There are, of course, some matters that police and crime panelists, those who sit on police and crime panels, might wish to draw to the attention. I'm sure you already have of the authorities in the Home Office that are looking at this, but there genuinely is a great deal that I am really looking forward to in great anticipation. So, for the time being, Paul Downing, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to the further detail on policing TV on police and crime panels. Thank you so much.
Thank you.